Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's a thing that YouTubers say. Hi, welcome back. If this is your first time, hello, I'm Virgil. Today, I will be baking an apple pie. What's more wholesome and American? Growing up, I did not really enjoy, in general, I don't enjoy fruit pies, if I'm being quite honest. I would go for chocolate over a fruit thing any day of the week. In my adulthood, I have discovered I'm not much of a dessert person. I'm the type of person that's like, if I'm going out to eat, I want to have an appetizer and an entree. And by the time that happens, I'm like, dessert? Like, God. You know, we'll order one for the table, split it. I tend to focus on the meal more than the dessert. But today, I'm going to be doing another recipe out of Miss Dessert Person. And when I saw this image, I was like, that seems challenging and I want to try it. This is Claire's sour cherry pie. I don't like cherries, really. Cherries are not my thing. I don't like maraschino. I don't like the fresh ones. It's not that I don't like them. I will eat them. If I was starving, I would eat them. But as a choice, just no. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna apply this style of, lattice for a double crust. So I'm gonna use Claire's dough recipe here. Then for the filling, I did go back into the vaults. Still Claire's recipe, but it is a Bon Apple Tea recipe for BA's best apple pie. We're gonna give it a go. And we're gonna make a pie. I've never done this in my entire life. I can read and follow directions. Also if you're wondering, this is Patricia Spliff, aka Patti Spliff. I call her Patricia. She's my drag mom of sorts, drag sister, I don't know. She didn't birth me, but she's older. Oh my God.
Oh, but she's a Bushwick legend.
A Brooklyn legend. Legend because you rarely see her. People always ask if it's Marilyn Manson. It's not. It's a recreation of Patti Smith album.
Horses.
Okay, horses. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. If you want the shirt, I don't know, I'll link it in the description box below. So I'm going to be making the Claire's flaky all butter pie dough. One of the things I just love about this cookbook in comparison to other, especially baking cookbooks, that they don't give you nearly as much information about the time it's going to take, or the difficulty level, the season, the total time it takes, the active time. The recipe for the sour cherry pie does require you to make 2 of this recipe. So I'm just gonna double everything, bottom crust, top crust. Oh, my Crocs. These are not Crocs, frocks. Get my frock in the shot. Can you see it? All right, let me wash my hands. All right, so first thing in the recipe, we're going to need to get a cup of water, put some ice cubes in it, get it into the refrigerator. Should it be a cup with the ice in it? I don't know. A big cube. Since I'm doubling the recipe, I have 20 tablespoons of butter, 10 and 10. So now firstly, I'm gonna cut this first 10 tablespoons into 1/8-inch sheets, and then it will go in the fridge. As thin as you can really get it. I have hot hands too, which is a bad thing for this pie making recipe. So we'll see how that goes. Trying to keep up with the kids on YouTube. Many moons ago, when I was your age, we didn't have TikTok. We had MySpace. I think some of the TikToks are funny, but I just can't bring myself to TikTok. Refrigerate. Boop. So now I'm gonna prep out my dry ingredients. I'm gonna weigh my flour out. Again, I'm doubling the recipe, so it calls for 1.5 cups or 200 grams. So we're gonna go 400 grams. 401, we're there. So we can go ahead and add that in. 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar. So my camera cut out. Boo-hoo, this happens, it's YouTube. So I added a tablespoon of sugar in Michael's, he's a Muppet. His name is what?
Gonzo.
Gonzo.
The Muppets are bad.
To that as well, 3/4 of a tablespoon of Diamond Crystal Kosher. Bam. Just gonna whisk all this together to combine. Oh wait, we're doubling it. I need to do this again. Another tablespoon of sugar, 3/4 teaspoon salt. I'm glad I caught that. Woo! Now we're gonna get our other 10 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna cut these down into 1/2-inch cubes. Toss to coat the pieces with flour. Make sure you're breaking up the cubes. With my fingertips, I'm just gonna mush it. Mush these butter pieces together, and that flour acts as a little barrier to help not melt the butter so quickly. The recipe says to keep doing this until the smallest you have is the pea size of butter. I've watched countless videos of people doing this in preparation for this day. They all say the same thing. So I'm gonna tell you the same thing too. Work it.
Is it worth it?
Put my thing down, flip it, and then reverse it. It's sprung from your nipples spleniet. And it was not until literally I was like in college where someone was like, no, it's backwards. It says, put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. It's sprung from your nipples spleniet, and it works.
Put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
Yeah, so then if you say, put my thing down. What? Put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. It's sprung from your nipples spleniet. That is funny. That is funny. Oh, technology. I feel like we're there. Pea size, yeah. God, it smells good. I feel like I'm smelling vanilla. I'm gonna get out our other 10 tablespoons of butter that have been chilling. These will keep as like sheets instead of breaking them down into peas. And that'll help create the sheets of butter that you want, right? Toss to coat. Claire says, letting them break apart if that's what they want to do. These sheets of butter are sentient, and I'm gonna let them do what they want to do. That once I've worked it all in, I should have a very coarse, slightly yellowed mixture filled with some larger pieces of butter and some very small bits. Slightly yellowed? Sure. It smelled so good. So if I squeeze, it stays together like that, but then easily crumbles. That's kind of what we're looking for. And it says to slowly drizzle 5 tablespoons. Like what? I'm gonna use a jigger for this. 4 tablespoons, 5 tablespoons. With this hand, I'll slowly drizzle. Drizzling and stirring. Now I'm gonna switch to my hands. Just toss it several times until shaggy pieces of dough form. I mean, all right, hey. It is coming together, girls and boys and theys and them. We're all inclusive on this channel. And it all came together. I mean, there might be like, there's no shaggy bits left. And the funny thing is because this is a doubled recipe and that was 5 tablespoons. So really, it seems like it would take 10 to bring it together like this, but it's doing so well.
Everything's going so well!
Oh, tea! Did you put sugar in it? This is my tea that Michael made me in this mug. My friend Colby had made for me. I forgot to put my apron on again. He just left the city and moved back to Ohio. It says something really sappy here, but then here, it's David and Alexis. And it says, "You're simply the best." And if you don't know the reference, you need to go watch Schitt's Creek. It's on Netflix. It is good tea. Piping hot tea.
Is it?
No. I'm gonna get some plastic out onto my work surface to put the dough in. I need to get one of those things Ina Garten has. The Barefoot Contessa. She has a YouTube video where it's like her carrying her phone around her house, being like, here's some things that I like. You know, it's pretty recent, I feel like. Fun fact, we have the same scale. Not the scale here, because this isn't mine, but at home, we have the same scale.
I think it's Ina.
I'm so close to Ina Garten. Is it Ina or Ina?
Ina.
Ina. I'm gonna do a little tea crust. I hate cling film, Jesus Christ. We're gonna put this here. And then we'll boop. And then we'll boop. And then we'll get our this is really satisfying. I must admit. Right hand. Come here. Come here. He's not coming. Is it brighter? Oh, we're almost there. We're basically there. Okay. So now, all right. So now that I have my dough all flattened out as much as it'll go, we're gonna chill this in the refrigerator for 2 hours. There are videos out there and recipes that say 30 minutes will do, but I am gonna follow Claire's recipe because time equals flavor. That's what they say. But before we cut away to 2 hours later, I'm going to go ahead and prepare our filling for the pie. Again, going back to my BA's Best Apple Pie. So first thing I'm gonna do for my filling is use a peeler, and I'm going to peel the skin off of these apples. The recipe calls for firm baking apples and recommends Pink Ladies or Granny Smiths. We don't really love the Granny Smiths in this house, so I'm going full Pink Lady. I have 7 apples here that I am just going to peel, core, and then thinly slice. You know what that's from?
Robin Hood.
Can't stump you, can I? Can't stump the kid. I'm just not used to using these. So if it looks like I'm struggling, I am. One time when I was bartending, peeling a lemon for a little lemon peel for a zest for a drink, and cut off like the tip of my finger with the fingernail. It all came up, not the whole fingernail, but like a sliver of the fingernail. It was awful. I was doing pre-shift work. It was like I was doing some to prepare. And then it happened and it was like I had to stay. I mean, I guess if I had caused a scene, but you know, I needed the money. So now that I have all of my apples peeled, we're gonna hack them up. And now I'm gonna use ice cream scoop out the core like that. How about that? That was so easy. We're keeping it real on this channel, my girl. This is real. This is me. This is who I'm meant to be.
I'm the greatest snowman.
This is the greatest snow!
I live among the swells and we don't pick up peanut shells.
I'm still not wearing the f***ing apron. All right, now I'm gonna thinly slice. So now to this, my sliced apples, I'm gonna add 1/3 cup of packed dark brown sugar, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of Diamond Crystal Kosher. With my hands, I'm going to mix this up. So then the reason I'm doing these so early is because they can sit out for multiple hours. The brown sugar and the granulated sugar will help draw out the moisture from the apple. Then those juices we will use at the stovetop while preparing the base for our filling.
Oh my god, that apple piece I just ate off the floor. It was so delicious. I
I'm
don't know
gonna
if you heard.
transfer all of my apples into, let's see, actually, can you come hold this? All right, now you can sit it in there. And now these will go off to the side and we'll come back to them later. Say hello to the world, baby. So my pie dough has been chilling in the fridge for over 2 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and pull her out. And she's pretty firm. So we'll leave it for 5 minutes and then we'll roll it out. And now to begin our apple pie filling, I will start with 1.5 cups of apple cider. The recipe does specify unfiltered, so I did go for that. And this is also a New York orchard, a family-owned orchard. This might just be applesauce, apple juice.
What do you mean? No, because like Ned Flanders says.
If it's clear and yellow, you've got juice there, fella. If it's tangy and brown, you're in cider town.
Whatever. We're gonna roll with it, and to be honest, it's gonna be delicious no matter what. Vanilla bean pod. Do your best to cut it straight down the middle. God, if you've never done this before, you should do it because this smell. And then we're gonna use the back of our knife to scrape out. We're gonna dump that in, and then it says to throw in the whole pot as well, so. And then we're gonna take this over to the stovetop to reduce. Okay, it needs to reduce by 2/3. So while he mans that stage, I'm gonna go ahead and take out my dough. Also to mention, I have prepared a half sheet tray with a piece of parchment paper for the next step, because we're gonna roll these out into 2 discs and then chill them again. In half. So I have a little bit of flour off to the side for dusting my work surface. I'm gonna take my rolling pin and beat it. Now I'm gonna take this over to my prepared parchment paper, get another piece, back on top. Bing, bang, bong. Release the beast. Alright, so now I'm gonna transfer this over here, and then these whores are gonna relax a little bit more. Michael's like, don't say whores. So now at this point we're gonna pour over our apple juices. This is what our apples that have rested have in the sugar. This is the juice they have given off. So now we're gonna add this to the cider with the vanilla pod. We're gonna return this to a boil and then cook it until it's reduced to about 1/2 cup. Okay, so now I'm gonna mix 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And I'm gonna dissolve this in 3 tablespoons of water. Because this will be our thickening agent for our filling. Cornstarch, I had never. My eyes are open now. I'll be cornstarch and shrimp, chicken. Well, that's it so far. But stay tuned. All right, this is dissolved. So let's take it over to the stove. So now we're gonna whisk in the cornstarch. It is happening quickly. Until cider mixture is very thick and bubbling. We'll call it there. Now we're just gonna let this cool. So our pie dough is chilling in the fridge for a few minutes. Sort of cool back down again so that we can go ahead and fill our pie plate. Now I have the pie dough rolled onto my rolling pin. I'm just gonna drape it over the plate and we're gonna let it slump down in there. Just making sure it's touching down in there, in the corners. And now with some scissors, I'm gonna leave about 1 inch hanging. I'm gonna pop this one back in the fridge while we cut this one up. So now with my other piece of dough, I'm gonna cut this into 1-inch strips for my lattice work on top. So I'll just start in the middle. Oh no, it's no good. It'll be fine, that'll just be the underside. Now we have our cooked filling ready to go. So I'm just gonna scrape it over the apples. It's globbing out, nice and thick. And then we're gonna toss this to coat. So these are pretty nicely coated. It's not warm, so I'm not worried about going ahead and filling the dough. So let's get to it. Let's get to it and do it, baby. I'm gonna go ahead and get my egg wash prepared as well. 1 egg with a tablespoon of water. Boop, boop. Have this come together with a little fork. Now we're gonna put the filling in. The recipe says to dot the top with butter. With the pastry brush, we're gonna just dot the egg around the edge. I'm gonna pull out my strips and we're gonna start making our crisscross, honey. I don't have enough. Maybe I could take some of this excess. But I can fake it. Bam. Bam!
Bam! Bam! Bam!
Should've seen with the script.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's in the past.
It's in the past.
It's in the past. And I'm living today. One more to salvage together. We got this, gals. Now we're gonna fold up the edges and crimp. I'm gonna egg wash the edges now. Now I'll go back around and crimp the edges the way it's shown in the photo. Flour my fingers, then work this crimp. Now I'm gonna egg wash the whole thing, sprinkle it with egg wash the whole thing, then sprinkle it generously with demerara sugar. So the egg wash gives it a nice shiny texture on the outside that is very indicative of a pie like this. It's gotta be shiny, baby. Shine bright like a diamond. Rihanna, where's the no music? She's getting too rich selling panties. I'm selling panties now. Panties. All right, so I have my demerara sugar here. So now the pie is going back into the fridge to chill for another 15 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the oven on. The pie is gonna start at 450, and then after 20 minutes, we'll bring it down to 350, right? And cook for another hour and a half to 2 hours. The reason it's in there so long is because the crust has to cook, because this wasn't par baked before. That's why you started out with a little bit higher, so that way that initial heat kind of gets that dough first, and then the rest can just be like a slow bubble of the filling in the middle. We'll let it cool completely, so that way the filling can set, and then we'll taste it. All right, so now that our oven is up to temp, I'm gonna take the pie out of the fridge. Isn't she lovely? So I'm gonna line a half-sheet tray with aluminum foil to catch the drips. So now I'm gonna stick this in the oven. The timer went off. I feel like it's ready. We should take a look inside. There's a lot of bubblage, some browning around the sides. I feel like we're good to go. It looks great. And then I'm gonna set it by the window on a cooling rack to cool completely before we cut into it. I let it sit overnight. It is the next day. It's the next morning. And I can show you guys the pie. You can see that is what she looks like underneath. Not too brown, but definitely got some color. They say that if it's done, then you can just pull it right out of the tin or the plate. And I don't want to do that. Bada bibbidi bobbidi boo. Here we go. Okay. We're in, people. Well, it's not gonna be the prettiest slice. I mean, it's gonna be great. We probably could have browned in the oven a little more, but for my first pie, I ain't mad at it. All right, in a couple minutes, we'll taste it. Looks like Grandma made it. I am pretty pleased with myself. I didn't think it would be easy, but I knew I could do it.
I bet the next slice that you take out will come out so much easier, so much more intact.
It is kind of kaslapas. So this is our slice of pie. It's definitely, you know, crumbled around, and I pulled some extra stuff out of the bottom, but I must say, I mean, look at that. Little spiced apples. Bless you. And yeah, again, for like my first pie from scratch, I really did that. It is really good. All right, well, it's delicious. If you have the time and energy, give it a go. All right, so that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed watching this process. I had fun, but I am exhausted. You know, you don't have to do it all in a day. You can do the pie dough before, it can stay in the refrigerator, roll it out. You can even assemble the pie and then refrigerate it, bake it later. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below any recommendations or suggestions that you have for future videos, future recipes. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications bell to know whenever I post, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay?